Hi, this is Matt Jones, and this is my data overview project for iTech 7305 for Kennesaw State University. I completed this data overview project using data from our 9th grade literature EOCT courses from 2011 to 2014. These scores are from Buford High School, and this presentation was created in part to show our staff during pre-planning this August. The purpose of this presentation is to drill down into our 9th grade literature EOCT data and discover strengths, weaknesses, and potential areas of growth. Hopefully this data presentation will give you some ideas for how to drill down into your own data. First, let's look at the demographic data for Buford High School. We will start with the faculty. Our faculty consists of 78 teachers. You can read the charts on the screen, but an interesting note is that we have a significant number of teachers that currently hold master's and specialist degrees, 74% to be exact. We take pride in having a highly qualified staff in all areas. As of last year, all of our teachers were highly qualified in their specific content area. Now let's take a look at our student demographics. You can see from this vertical bar graph how our student demographics have changed since 2012. Notice that the total number of students at our school have increased each year at about the rate of 75 students per year. Another important fact is that our minority populations have increased at a higher rate over the last 3 years. It's important for us to notice these trends as we prepare for what type of students we will have in the future. The next graph shows us a picture of our economically disadvantaged students. Our economically disadvantaged students tend to be about 45% of our student population. In green and tan are the two groups that are economically disadvantaged. This is a large portion of our population that we need to consider at all times. Before we start, let's consider some questions before we even break down this data. What predictions do you have about the data? How will we compare to the state? Which of our subgroups will do well and which of our subgroups will do poorly? As you read through these questions, think about how your specific content area would do in each group. We'll start first with the aggregated data. The first graph shows the percent of students who met or exceeded the standard each year in 9th grade literature. We tested about 228 students the first year, about 281 the second year, and about 276 students the third year. There are very high expectations at Buford High School, and our students did very well as a whole throughout the year. This second graph compares our data to the state of Georgia. We do not have a district to compare our scores to, as our district only has one high school. As the graph shows, we did very well in comparison to the entire state. We were able to increase every year as the state decreased. The next chart is the same data in the circle graph chart. It gives a better perspective of parts to whole, as you can see that the number of students who did not exceed are very few compared to the students who met or exceeded the standards. Next, we'll look at the disaggregated data. The first line graph is a picture of how each ethnicity did each year on the 9th grade lit EOCT. Putting this information in a line graph allows us to see which ethnicity did well and which ones need to improve. You can see that whites and others did very well, and so did African Americans. An area of improvement would be our Hispanic population. However, you can see that these students did improve over the course of 3 years. Next, we'll look at our economically disadvantaged students broken down by ethnicity. From this chart, you can begin to get a clearer picture of where some of our weaknesses might be. Our group of other students did well again, while the remaining 3 groups increased every year. It's clear to see that our Hispanic students showed drastic improvement over the course of 3 years. Lastly, we'll look at our percentage of students with disabilities broken down by ethnicity. This chart shows similar information as the last two. We are proud that we showed a great deal of improvement each year, but we also know where some of our weaknesses lie based on this data. Strengths and weaknesses. We do want to take a minute and applaud our English department. They did a fantastic job over these 3 years of improving all areas of ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and disability status. We also want to note that our Hispanic population was a particular area of weakness. One reason for this would be the obvious, in that a great deal of our students most likely speak Spanish at home instead of English. This is a great limitation to them, in particular in literature. Next, some limitations of this data. Some of the subgroups are small in size, and therefore the percentages are greatly affected by just a few students. We're also a smaller system in high school and therefore have benefits of higher teacher-to-student ratio, which helps test scores. And lastly, we're a city school, which affords us the benefit of accepting tuition students, and so therefore we have a higher percentage of good students. Next, some general observations. Our school improved each year on the 9th grade literature EOCT. That is a great thing that we should not overstep. And next, our school was higher than the state average each year. We were almost 10% higher each year, if not 12% higher each year than the state. And then lastly, we had at least a 97% meets or exceeds rating every year, which is a great goal to accomplish, and our goal is on 100% every year, but that is a great goal to at least be 97% meets or exceeds each year. Next, some inferences from this data. We need to continue to focus on our Hispanic population and specific children with disabilities. This was a specific area of weakness and must be one that we remediate each year. Next, our English department has done an excellent job improving our scores each year and should be commended. That's not something we want to overlook. And third, our minority population is increasing each year from the demographic data, and it's vital that we focus on improving their scores. So let's take a step further. How can you analyze your content areas data? And what would you expect to find as part of that data? What are specific strengths and what are specific weaknesses that you think you would find? I would challenge that it may be different than what you think it may be before and after you complete the data analysis. And then lastly, this is just a sample of the data that was used. I have several more pages of data, but I wanted to give you a sample of what it looks like and total number of students and percentages. And if you are interested, I can send more of that data out to whoever might be interested in analyzing that. So thank you very much for watching this presentation, and I hope that it was useful.